Welcome to Cap Chat Live. If you thought that the transfer portal and NIL flipped the college sports upside down, buckle up, hold tight, because the NCAA just completely rewrote the playbook. Yesterday, the Division I cabinet unanimously passed the new age-based 5-5 eligibility rule. The traditional 5 years to play for model, it's officially dead. So here's the deal. You get 5 seasons of competition in a strict 5-year window, and the clock starts the second you enroll full-time or the academic year after you turn 19, whichever comes first. No more redshirts, no more time to develop, no more 6-year medical hardship waivers and if you get hurt. Unless you're on military deployment, maternity leave, or religious mission, that clock does not stop. Coaches are scrambling because roster management just became a relentless countdown. And the sports lawyers, they're already warm up in the bullpen. Today, we're going to break down exactly what this means for you, how it changes high school recruiting overnight, and why the 2022 recruitment class might be taking NCAA straight to court. This is Cap Chat Live. You're listening to Cap Chat, the #1 soccer recruitment podcast in the United States. This is Cap Chat. It is June 24th, the year of our Lord 2026. So we have our wonderful panel here. Tyler Tomlinson, Steve Axtell, the gang is back together. Let me read this out loud, and then we're going to get our expert panel advice. So yesterday, Division I cabinet unanimously, means everyone liked it, approved a 5-year age-based eligibility model. Under the new rule, athletes in all sports will be given 5 years of eligibility over 5 seasons once their college eligibility clock begins. So now the clock begins upon full-time enrollment in college or at the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday, whatever occurs first. What this does is eliminate the need for redshirts, waivers, and all that fun stuff. So athletes who just completed a 4th year of eligibility would not be granted an additional year. Schools have the flexibility determining whether to use previous eligibility rules or age-based models for the 2025-26 academic year. So, okay. Let's, as the reigning NCAA coach on this panel, Steve, go for it, man. What is this? What's your thoughts on this change that I think we all knew was coming, but what's your thoughts here?
I mean, it makes sense. I think compliance officers and directors at every college are just completely overloaded right now with waivers and trying to keep track. Every time you transfer a school, right, you've got a record that comes with you that new school has to keep track of. And every time you use a waiver, whether that's a red shirt, a medical hardship, any of those, right, those kind of go in that file, and your file kind of gets bigger. And I just think it's a massive animal for them to deal with. I think the 5-year thing has been coming for a while. And so this does both, right? It gives you the 5 years, and it allows compliance officers to not have a whole lot of waivers and red shirts to keep track of, which is going to make their job a little bit more seamless.
Talk about some of the waivers that happened before, though. What were some of the waivers that would look like?
So you've got your general red shirt, where depending on sport, most sports, it's, if you didn't play, some of them it was a very limited amount of minutes. But if you didn't play in your first year, you could redshirt, and that year wouldn't have counted against eligibility. You've got medical hardships, which if you have a season-ending injury in the first half of your season, you could get that season back. That had to be applied for. You had to have a lot of doctors supporting evidence that was truly a season-ending injury, and the NCAA would grant that waiver to you to get that year back. There's always been some obscure ones, which some of them still remain. So you've got military service, which still remains as a waiver that you can get in this new rule. You've got religious missions, which is still in this new rule. You've got maternity leave on the women's side, which is still in the new rule. So there's a couple obscure ones that maybe aren't as common, but Some of them will still carry over.
Do you think that men will sue for maternity leave if their girlfriend gets pregnant?
I haven't seen it yet, but who knows?
Yeah. Okay. Tyler, thoughts? I'll let you dive into what are your thoughts here?
Well, I think we have just kind of a piggyback problem a little bit because in the sport of soccer, the most recent rule change for Division One soccer was a 28 person
Hmm.
roster. So they were limited already just recently to 28 roster spots. So what's happening is you have the Division One, all of Division One athletics making a change here. It just happened to be piggybacked on soccer making a specific change right before that.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, having 28 roster spots total and 5 years of players to fill those spots, um, that's going to be a different challenge for a lot of these coaches. And so I would say we were heading down a path in soccer where high school seniors in America were struggling to find spots on Division One
Mm-hmm.
rosters. And I think we've just magnified that problem. So I think that it depends on how all these coaches want to approach these next 2 years, and what they value. Do they value the players they have on their roster that they can maybe convince to stick around a fifth year, or do they value the incoming class of players and are going to give them the scholarships on the bottom end of this whole equation? And so a little bit later, when you want to ask me in the podcast, I have reached out to um, some Division One coaches on the women's side to get their opinions and how they're going to tackle this equation.
I mean, go ahead. If I mean, you brought that up. I mean, you can't just like tease us and then not bring it up here. So let's.
Yeah, so the I talked to some mid majors first. Um, And so one of them said they already, had this issue going into this coming class. So the 2026 class, they wanted 5 players, and the roster limit changed their approach. So um, the first mid major I talked to had 2 freshmen coming in to their 2026 class. That's it for the whole roster. 2 high school freshmen. And once again, guys, this is not a Power Five. So then they said, well, I'm going to be graduating 7 players after this season. And I have asked only 2 of them to stick around. And
Wow.
so they're going to bring in 5 new players for 2027. So that's considered now a big class for them, is the 5 kids.
5 kids for
Uh,
a mid major is a big class.
yep.
Okay.
Yep. They thought that it hurt freshmen, or seniors in high school going to be freshmen.
The new rule hurts them, or the it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, yep,
Okay.
and that they would encourage kids to go play a different level, for a year and then transfer in when the timing is right. Um, and it encouraged them to try to, if they have a really solid player, get that player to stay a 5th year is how the first one I talked to. Um, and then the second mid-major I talked to said it won't affect the women as much as it will the men, which is an interesting approach. They do still want to focus on high school seniors on the women's side. Um, and they said this will just have a short-term effect as we want our best players now to stay, but we'll be able to iron that out in about a year or two. Uh, but it's going to shrink, and this is a common thread through all 3 divisions I talked to, right? Or not divisions, but ranks of Division One size-wise. All recruit classes for Division One freshmen are going to drastically shrink, was their prediction. And same thing with the Power Five school coach that I talked to as a head coach. Just said we're really struggling having an additional class that we've really been focusing on for 2027, 2028, and meeting the standard of the 28-person roster cap. So we're going to struggle at our level to figure out what the best course of action is for those 28 kids.
Interesting. It's good. It's good feedback. Good research. Good research, Tyler. I think one of the things that as a blanket statement, is the traditional red shirt year is officially dead. If you set out to develop or get hurt, your clock keeps ticking. And I think
Correct.
so there's normal medical red shirts, which as Steve brought up, you don't get a 6 year anymore. The 5th year window is an absolute hard ceiling. Um, as you know, religious missions or active military duty. So I mean that's the death of a red shirt. And what do we? I mean, I know. I mean, Steve, how did you guys use? I mean, in NCAA, how do you think this official death of the red shirt is going to affect the rosters?
Well, definitely to Tyler's point, like you're going to have 5 years worth of kids into 28 spaces instead of 4, right? So like every class has to shrink just mathematically from here
Yeah.
on out. And that's at the top level. So I have heard that Division Two has met about this and has tabled it until 2028. So we've got at least 2 years now that we're going to be dealing with it until that maybe trickles down to where Division Two and Three are looking to do a 5 year type of plan. Division Three won't move until Division Two does, and so um, yeah, I mean, essentially at the very top, you've got um, kind of just a scarcity problem again. The same thing that COVID did, right? When kids could get that 5th year, but now you've got a new crop of freshmen that can come in, and your rosters are inflated. Um, so yeah, that's number one, right? Is like as a freshman or incoming freshman, it's going to be harder to get the same spot. You're going to have to play at a lower level now,
Yeah.
period. Right? Just mathematically. Um, I think with the redshirt thing, um, I know there was a lot of Division Ones that had planned gap year kids, right? So recruited, verbally committed, but said, "Hey, you need to take a gap year or a half gap, and then we'll take you, and then probably redshirt you, and then now kind of you start your clock." I think the same thing's going to happen. I think um, you're going to have a lot more kids that are going to try and do a gap year program, right? Because your clock doesn't start till 19, right? So why start that,
Yeah.
especially on the men's side? Why start that and early? So I think a lot of them are going to try and get kids to start their clock right after their 19th birthday, regardless of when they graduate high school. So I think we kind of look at it as like, all right, high school is that. Well, now college hits, and I think colleges now are going to start to think, no, college starts when after your 19th birthday.
Yeah. I,
Um,
that's a valid
if you're
point.
going to be a soccer player, I think that'll be maybe more of the norm.
Interesting.
Yeah, just so to reiterate that rule, so if I graduate in June from high school and then I turn 19 like real early, like September, well, college has already started, so that does not start my clock. My clock will not start all the way back until August of the next year after I turn 19. So it does give me a gap year
Hmm.
to go play somewhere. Um, the only people it would affect is between June and August. If you turn 19 after you graduate,
Yeah.
you might as well go because your clock started and go
Yeah.
somewhere. But most kids won't. And so Steve's right. That does give a year in that cycle, just the way that they worded it and laid it all out, for kids not to start that until they've gained an extra year if they wanted to.
Yeah. I think that's a valid point. And we've always been component of gap year programs, and um, yeah. So I think that is a great. I think that's a great shout for it. Because it is going to be even harder to make these rosters. And um, it was something I was reading is there's what they call. Have you guys heard the left behind class? Um, so sports lawyers were in the high school classes of 2022 are currently not cut off from competition might sue. They spent their careers competing against 5th and 6th year players who had COVID extensions, but now they're barred from getting a 5th year under the old rules. So they think they
Mm.
might sue. I think people were so happy with NCAA, but I thought that was an interesting little. Um, it doesn't affect rosters, but it's just one more lawsuit that the NCAA may have to deal with of what they call the left behind class. Uh,
Now, here's another separate issue that this creates is that um, kids can transfer up, right? So if let's say if you're a Division Three All American and you want to go do a master's, you can go play your 5th year in Division I now. At least how I'm understanding it, and from the people that I talk to that probably know a lot more than me. If you're a good Division II player, you can transfer up for
Yeah.
that 5th year. And so, we're just thinking of the conveyor belt of high school seniors that comes through. But I mean, really, why would you ever take an 18-year-old brand new, freshman when you
I know.
could take the Division II player of the year, right? Like conference players of the year, all conference players, et cetera. So I think there's going to be kind of this rat race for kids that aren't in Division I to prove themselves to then transfer up, which is a real possibility. We talk all the time about how the levels overlap a lot, right? And so, the top of Division II is better than the bottom however many percent of Division
Right.
I. And so why
Agreed.
wouldn't those players just go play another year or get a master's degree potentially for free or paid for now? So, I mean, I think the number of true freshmen going into Division I is going to be so small for the next couple of years, especially that, yeah, I mean, I don't know if like the true 18-year-old going to Division I is a reality anymore, other than the outliers, right? That are maybe.
And it's interesting because
Go ahead.
yeah, it's interesting, Steve, because we've been saying this for a while. Like I mentioned this in Virginia Beach at our ID campus. Like the past 2 years, the recruitment's changed so much. I didn't think we'd be sitting here going, it's going to get even harder for freshmen for young men freshmen. Like it's gotten even harder for seniors in high school. Like I didn't think a year ago we could be saying it's not, and it's like every month is like, well, it got a little bit harder for you again. Oh, it got a little bit harder again for you. Oh, it's getting, and eventually it's like, okay, how do we get people to shift out of that mind? I mean, it is continuing to get harder and harder. And so that has changed. Here's a question for you guys. They've changed my media boards. I used to have like a hot take coming in, but I no longer have that. So I have no clue where my media board is now. So
You used to do
yeah, correct. I used to have that. Ruthie, are you that Ruthie? I need you. Dang it, Ruthie.
She's not here.
Our producer has disappeared. Here's a question. I got 3 questions for you guys. Is this actually an anti-athlete cost-cutting measure disguised as simplicity? So by capping careers strictly at 5 years with no injury extensions, NCAA forces older, more expensive NIL and Redshirt players out of the ecosystem faster, making room for cheaper freshmen. True, false? What do you guys think? Hot take. What is it?
False. I think winning is still at the top of the pyramid. Decision making for sure.
A little bit.
Okay, here it is. I found it, by the way.
Hot stuff coming up.
There you
go. I don't know if this changes how much money a top football player or basketball player is going to make. Look, all the money's still there. And so it doesn't matter if a kid's 24 years old or 22 years old. If they're the top player for an age group at a college, they're getting the top money. So I'm going to say that that's false. It doesn't matter if you said, okay, now you can only be 18 to 20 years old. Well, what do you think Duke basketball is going to do? Like, oh, well, we're going to spend less money on that 20-year-old. Steve's right. They want to win. They're going to take the same amount of money and they're going to invest in that 20-year-old because they're allowed to do so. So changing the ages doesn't change the money that's coming into these programs and the desire for those top-tier programs to win.
All right. So will this stop the lawsuits or just change the argument? So it eliminates the medical waiver lawsuits. Sports antitrust lawyers are already pointing out that capping how long someone can earn money, work as a college athlete, will face legal challenges. So will this stop the lawsuits or just change the arguments? Or made Steve mad? That one got Steve right there.
You already mentioned like there's an entire group of people that are like, wait a minute, we had to go against 6th and 7th year 30-year-olds, and now we don't.
I don't think it stops the lawsuits. I think it's just changed. I think NCAA has, in the past couple years, when we started the podcast, they kind of lost control of the NCAA. They lost control by throwing their hands in the air for the NIL, and it allowed people to start doing lawsuits. So I don't think I think the lawsuits continue. They just find different ways to sue. Is my opinion, but
There's money involved, so
yeah,
people are going to feel slighted by their college or the NCAA or whatever the rule changes might be, and a lot of times the courts have found them to be of logic, and they've sided with the athletes on a lot of this, and so I don't think that that's going to change it. I think as long as the NCAA is still changing and moving and shifting and changing rules, they're going to have to run into lawsuits.
yeah. Steve, did you hear that one? Whether stop the lawsuits or just change the argument?
I mean, I think you're going to have people still suing for season-ending injuries. I think eventually it says it's a hard line, but I'll bet people still try and get that right and make the claim that it was out of their control and they lost money or revenue, or whatever, because of it. So I'll bet people will still be suing. Here's another take.
I tell you a quick fact.
Can you guys hear me? Okay, another take. So there's
like, okay.
there's less and less high school seniors that are going to be graduating anyways in the next 5 to 10 years, right? Graduation rates drop across the country a lot. Colleges now are struggling because of that, and we've seen a lot of colleges close since COVID. So my thought too is this pushes players down and helps lower levels. It helps junior college, it helps D3, D2, and NAIA. It helps them fill their rosters even more than what they were able to do before. So I do think by pushing those players down at a time when there's less and less high school seniors graduating, perhaps those schools that maybe were struggling, I think they can now find players across all sports easier than they did. That's my take. So that's what I think maybe a potential benefit.
That's a great point, because you typically see these smaller schools, NAIA, D3, half a D2, that are smaller private schools that, have 1,500 kids on campus. And when you lose, 10% of 150 is a big hit for them. Whereas 10%, you lose 150 kids at a University of Missouri, that doesn't affect them. So you're right. These small, that's a good point. I like that. So Tyler, you're going to get some benefit here. You're going to have more people coming to the Hill. But I think that's a good benefit. Tyler, you agree? I see the beard working there. The beard is thank you.
I don't know. I think that the boom, and Josh and I have talked about this, I think the boom will go to junior college. I don't think it's going to go to the private schools. And that's where I think there will be a big change. And we may already be heading that direction, or we see a decrease in college attendance overall because of the cliff that we've been talking about for high school, and that we're at. So I don't know.
But if you go to JUCO, it starts your clock though.
It does. So does an NAIA or a D2.
Oh, that's also true. But maybe you just stay there a little longer at NAIA because the chances.
Could, yeah. You could, and you could enjoy your experience, and maybe stay a couple of years. In JUCO, you're there, 2 years, but you could be there 1 year as well. There's nothing wrong with that. And so, I don't know. I don't know if it saves colleges, private school colleges across the country, because soccer is a limited roster, but not every sport. As far as like shrinking, and so there may be bigger roster implications coming, so D1s feel like they can compete better and they get those numbers back up. So I don't know yet.
Here, my prediction is the rise of gap year, better, more affordable gap year programs that are under $20,000. We know gap year programs that are 50 to 60. I think you see the rise of a gap year program. Because you're going to play 6 days a week, play in a professional environment and not hurt your eligibility. I think you see a rise of a gap year program is my hot take. So
and on the boys side, I think the MLS U19 division grows.
Yeah,
a ton.
Agreed.
Yeah, like you're going to stay and just play in that environment one more year rather than go to college.
And when you remove the all the need to study. I hate to say that. I hate to say when school gets in the way, you can truly play 6 days a week. Like right now, you got homework to deal with. When you're not dealing with homework, you can hyper focus on building your soccer, which is so I think that you're right. The MLS U19 is going to be almost like a gap year because they're going to be able to train full time.
I mean, I hope it does improve the pathways for, men's soccer players to find professional routes. And I hope that I'd be totally okay with it if it improves our professional routes in the country for soccer. And then this leads to that. I support that.
Yeah. Final one here, and I think Steve, I know you got a hard stop. So how does this impact team depth? So coaches, we used to rely on, especially on high impact, but you could redshirt someone, you could bring them, but now if a freshman isn't ready to play, their clock is burning. So will we see more players leave early because if my clock is running, I might as well wait to be on the field somewhere else. So how does this impact team depth?
Well, just based off the answers from some of these coaches, they're measuring my returning players versus the incoming players and who's going to make an impact and how long is that impact going to last. So I think that's the first thing that's going to change. Second thing that like you mentioned a good point, Josh, if I'm not playing, I got to go.
Yeah.
And so this will not be a remedy for the transfer portal, guys. 28 person, 5 years, this will increase transfer portal activity amongst all sports, specifically soccer with our roster sizes at the Division I level. I think the transfer portal will be outrageous. And I think it's gonna increase and it's gonna be worse. So that's when it comes to depth, you get a little bit more say, I guess, in your depth because it's such a small group, but you're also gonna have a lot of people coming and going more than usual.
That's a great point on the transfer portal is going to increase. Yeah. Yeah. Wasn't there something that there's the transfer window now, or was that a different? Because Division One, because the men's, since they're going to a 2-year season, and there's a transfer window now. Now just for Division One, but now who knows, that transfer window may just explode and like you're just going to be like. It's going to be like the EPL.
No, that's correct.
Window.
The men's have certain times now because of their year-long calendar as well. So, so that's that could exacerbate this whole thing too a little bit better.
Because I think if you get done, so Division One in 2027 is going to the 2-year season. Much like the international game, so fall, spring. If you transfer after the fall season, you can't. My way I'm understanding this, Steve, you may have a better, but if you transfer after the fall season, you can't play that spring season with another team.
Yeah, and I don't think you can go Division 1 to 1 under that model. I don't what I've heard is that transfer window won't exist until after the spring season is done.
After the spring, so there's nothing in there's nothing in the fall. You cannot transfer. You have to wait to the full end of the season.
I mean, you can transfer. You can go down. You can go Division 1 to 2, 1 to 3, which is a lot of kids are doing anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, I would say, over 65, 70% of the kids anyways are the ones that aren't really playing at the Division 1 level. And if you're going 1 to 1, then it's after the spring season.
So Tyler's correct then. Like, if you're coming in the fall season and you're not getting playing time, if you're number 27 on a roster of 28, you're not getting playing time, you transfer down. So I think the downhill will still continue. Because pretty quick, if you're 28, that especially now with only one game a week coming in next fall, like the chances of you getting in are even harder. You're playing 2 games a week, someone gets hurt.
Everybody gets rest. That's better than you.
Yeah, correct. Yeah,
you're not playing, man.
Correct. The guy you hope is going to roll his ankle has time to recover from his rolled ankle. So you're going to transfer down. So I think that's so I think your point's valid there, Tyler.
Here's another if I'm reading this right, I think your clock starts after high school graduation or 19th birthday, whichever comes first. Look at the fine print, because I just brought up the fine print. I don't think you can wait until your 19th birthday now, if I'm reading this right.
The clock starts upon initial full-time enrollment in college or at the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday whatever occurs first.
On the NCAA website, it says following high school graduation or 19th birthday, whichever comes first.
So it's only basically that's only graduation then.
I mean,
And for those of you listening, this is how quickly things
yeah,
and how obscure a lot of this stuff is.
yeah. That's a big
case,
yeah.
You're gonna have kids reclassify like you do in other sports a lot.
Yeah, this one says the clock starts upon initial full-time enrollment in college or at the beginning of the academic year following their 19th birthday, whatever occurs first. So if you don't enroll, your 19th birthday is the starting point.
And you guys are reading different things because Steve said upon graduation.
I know.
And you
And
said
if it's upon graduation, the gap year's done.
Mm-hmm. But the reclassifying is not. That's going to go way up.
Interesting. Oh, because you can reclassify, play another year. Yeah. And then not to, yeah. Interesting.
Jeez.
Yeah, even different. I mean, I'm reading mine from ESPN, but which is quoting the NCAA. So who knows, man? It's
Yeah, I'm not sure the final wording is out yet. So it was voted on and approved, but not written into law.
Correct.
So maybe we have to reinterpret that last caveat there.
Yeah. No, it's right. It's interesting times though. It's interesting times here in NCAA. So, anyway, so that's what we have here. As you heard, we will stay on top of this. And we will continue to follow it as changes happen. We try to take the summer off, but there's too many things happening here. So, but for Steve Axel, for Tyler Thompson, Steve took his hair and put it on Tyler's face. So it's been a shift. So anyway, so this is the Cap Chat Live. This is actually the wonderful college advisory team for Rush Soccer that's following the news through the NCAA cabinet. So anyway, that's all we have, guys. Thanks so much for joining.
I think that matters, Steve, whether they say graduation or when you start college or 19, like that's going to be a big difference.